Hi, this is Scott Bogren, Communications Director for the Community Transportation Association of America, and it is Thursday, February 5th, and I thought this would be a good time to provide an update on what we're seeing happening here in Washington, D.C. regarding reauthorization of Map 21, creating the kind of revenue we need to get to that reauthorization, and some of the other activities with the administration's budget proposal. So here goes. First off, we have provided a full list of the varying committees, the key committees, particularly the Senate Banking, Senate Environment, Public Works, and the House Transportation and Infrastructure committees. We've provided a good solid list of those new members and how those committees have reorganized themselves. It's on our Fed Central webpage, which is easily accessible from our homepage, www.ctaa.org. I encourage you to download that list and take a look and see if any of your local representatives are now on these key committees, and to act as well. And as well, keep a regular lookout at the Fed Central page. We update that 2-3 times a week with all the latest information. So whether it's hearings or bills or analyses, all that is up and live at our Fed Central site. The issue here in Congress and really with the administration and everything that has to do with reauthorization of Map 21 and new surface transportation policy is fixated on revenue, which is where we last left you over the summer. That fight and those discussions are ongoing, but there have been some updates that I wanted to discuss. First off, there is still some discussion of a gas tax increase, and certainly current gas prices would lead one to believe that that would be feasible right now. But Representative Blumenauer put forward a bill 2 days ago on raising the gas tax a nickel every year for the next 3 years. But that seems to have very little political currency and very little support. The funding mechanism that seems to have some legs right now is this concept of repatriation, which is a fancy way of saying that multinational corporations that are headquartered in the U.S. that have a lot of revenue held in foreign countries can repatriate those revenues back to the United States. For an example, a company like Apple has a lot of money overseas in China. And right now, the tax rate to bring that back is about 35%. And they're looking for a reduced tax rate. And that would be the encouragement to bring these revenues back to the United States and have them be taxed. And those revenues are in the trillions. So there is lots of money potentially to be made through this process. There's two actions that are key right now. One, the Obama administration's budget, which came on Monday, and which we provide all the details on the Fed Central site. The Obama administration's budget includes very detailed pay for a $468 billion 6-year surface transportation bill, which includes the budget is the first year of that 6-year, and it includes it takes us transit up to $18 billion a year, which is a $7-point-something billion increase, significant increase. It has increases across all the formula programs, significant investments in bus and bus formula, something we're very interested in. So it's a continuation of what we saw last year with the Grow America bill. This is also called Grow America. But the pay for, even though the policy is good stuff, the pay for is what everyone's paying attention to. And it was interesting. I tweeted out yesterday that the Wall Street Journal didn't view the pay for as negative and said it had possibilities, and was even called it common sense. So there's some movement there. In Congress, Congressman Delaney, who's a Democrat from Maryland, actually is my representative, he's put forward a bill that is Infrastructure 2.0. There's some analysis of that bill also on our Fed Central page. That bill has the same kind of language as what the administration has. So right now, even though we've talked about these transportation committees, the House Ways and Means Committee and the Senate Finance Committee, the places where the money will get generated, are really critical to the process as we move forward. As we move forward, we're starting to see hearings. We're starting to see the leaders of the varying congressional committees stake out certain positions. A couple weeks ago, I took in the T&I chairman, Mr. Schuster's discussion with the United States Conference of Mayors. He was very clear that he was not going to support a gas tax there. He was also very clear that he wanted to see a multi-year bill and that his committee was ready to deliver. Once they had their finances, they were ready to deliver a bill. I believe that to be correct, as well with the Senate Banking and the Senate EPW. Once given the revenues, I think these committees will definitely be ready to act. And so let's all in the transit community hope to see the Congress start to tackle tax reform, because that's the engine that will create the revenue that's needed. The first hearing that the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee had, Secretary of Transportation Fox attended that. I took that in as well. Lots of discussion of the need for infrastructure, the need for this type of investment. That doesn't seem to be much problem. The problem is, where do we, as it has been, how do we pay for this? And we're getting to that, I think. Will we be able to do all of this before the end of May? That is another big question. I think that the budget agreement in December funds transit through the end of September, the end of the federal fiscal year. So those key dates we're looking at is the end of May, MAP 21, the authorizations, and the appropes go through the end of September at current levels. That, I think, is the more reasonable time frame for trying to get this done, and for trying to get all of these pieces to fall into line. Be aware that if we can't, and if the Congress can't get this bill done, we're into another series of extensions. That's going to move us into the presidential campaign, and we're already seeing a lot of media talk about that. But myself and many others feel that it's very the idea of getting this bill done becomes much more difficult in the environment of a presidential campaign. So right now, what do we know? Well, there seems to be bipartisan agreement on the Hill that we need this bill, and it's all about infrastructure. And so those of us in the transit field, we need to be making the connection that your services are vital components in infrastructure. 2, we know that multi-year bills are what everyone's talking about. The idea of year by year or 6-month increments, everyone understands that is a big negative and doesn't want to see it happen. Also, interestingly, we know that the Congress seems, at least through the first hearing and some of the other discussions they've had, this notion of the federal-state partnership and its importance is holding together nicely. And so the idea of devolution does not seem to have a lot of support or backers right now. So we know those 3 things we know for sure. The rest is going to be up to some more hearings. We'll be covering those hearings. My Twitter feed at CTMag1 will give you kind of live updates on a lot of those hearings, and we'll keep you up to date on everything that's happening. Again, this is our first video of 2015, and this is really kind of a reintroduction of these and an idea of what we're going to be doing and what we should be seeing moving forward. Right now, I'm optimistic. I think we can get this done, but there's a lot of work to do, and I think through the end of September is probably a more likely time frame to achieve everything that needs to happen. So with that, I will conclude this first congressional and reauthorization update video of 2015. Thanks as always for taking the time to give it a view.